Let's talk quarterbacks and tight ends, the onesie positions, with also a look at these matchups just through, a game-by-game preview standpoint. We'll kick things off here with the Baltimore Ravens, Hayden, and Lamar Jackson versus the New York Jets. You're assuming this is a pretty big bounce back spot, and, it's obvious potentially against this Jets offense, but, he's been the quarterback 9, 15, and 29 since returning from injury.
Yep.
That can't sustain itself the whole way, can it?
Yeah, I mean, I hope not. I don't think that he's fully healthy right now. I think that's kind of just the reality of the situation. And if he was fully healthy, everybody would be consensus, no doubt about it, Lamar Jackson. I mean, they're projected for 29 points against the Jets. They're tanking right now. So at home, it better be a big game for Lamar, or we have to have a bigger deep dive into just how healthy he is.
We always talk about pockets of the season. Two of those defenses, again, that he was quarterback 15 and 29 against, were on the road against the Vikings and the Browns. And then, in 3 of the next 4 games, he gets the Jets and the Bengals twice. So again, pockets of the season, this could easily be a huge next 4-ish game stretch here for Lamar Jackson. Drake Maye is your quarterback 2. He gets that Cincinnati Bengals defense this week. It's on the road. They are projected for a ton of points at 28.5. Don't frequently get that for a road team. And he arguably gets his best downfield threat back too in Kayshon Boutte.
Absolutely his best downfield threat. The Bengals this week, they're dead last in passing EPA allowed among the eligible teams. Everyone knows that. It's firing them up. You're in Cincinnati. Who cares? There's probably going to be no fans. They shouldn't be at that game. Let's just be honest here. But Drake Maye's been awesome. He's not even scrambling that much right now because the team is winning by so many points. Look at their record. But Drake Maye can do that too. Let's say Burrow or Flacco goes crazy in this one. Drake Maye's been awesome.
Do you want to dive into the Stephen A. Smith comments or no?
I mean,
it was so ridiculous to me.
It's so narcissistic. It's crazy.
I do not know Drake Maye. Obviously, I have met him. He seems awesome. We sat down for an hour along with Colt McCoy. If there is any quarterback in the league who doesn't watch First Take or knows about Stephen A. Smith, it's probably Drake Maye.
The 22-year-old.
The dude probably just wants to play pickup basketball, watch film, which is during, and he's at the facility during the time that First Take is on. And by the way, he loves Cam Newton. The guy grew up in the Charlotte area. When he played the Panthers, did the Cam Newton Superman celebration afterwards as an homage to Cam. Just Stephen A. being like, if you don't know who we are as a network, you're lying. That is such a ridiculous take to me.
Remember, we're cutting cable. That's why you guys watch us on YouTube. 22-year-olds don't watch ESPN.
Correct.
Is this news?
A 24 and 5-year-old quarterback is not sitting at home and watching reruns of First Take that, gets their viewership from barbershops and stuff.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
It was truly unbelievable to me. Next is Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback 3. This is against the Indianapolis Colts. I cannot wait for this matchup because just a few seasons ago, Big Lou versus Patrick Mahomes shut him down in the AFC Championship game. Drop 8. Remember that? Sam Hubbard. Remember that? And now, while, DeForest Buckner is out of Lou Anarumo's defensive line, he has gotten much, much, much healthier along the cornerback room.
Yeah, the corner's back spot, if they're all ready to go, and they should be. Charvarius Ward's coming back from a concussion. He's cleared protocol. I'm assuming he's fully back. And then Sauce Gardner, he has a extra time to be prepared. And then Kenny Moore is a good slot corner. So they're going to miss DeForest Buckner, but you give Lou Anarumo a quality secondary. And then I just want to shout out Liatu Latu has really improved in his second season. I think that he would be a surefire top 8 pick if we were redrafting that class right now. I think the Colts defense is one of the underrated units, and I would not be looking throughout the last couple months of stuff. I would be projecting this one forward. You have 2 top corners back. That's a big deal. So I think the Colts are underrated here. Patrick Mahomes is going to have one of those games because I've seen the Colts team in general is I think even still just a little bit slept on. They've been so good this entire year. I'll still pick the Chiefs in a close one at home. Especially because Daniel Jones has a new fibula injury that he thought's a calf injury. We'll get to that in a second. But like you said, this Colts defense is not just garbage anymore.
No. And the Chiefs have to win this game. especially with the Texans winning last night. That kind of complicates the wild card stuff a little bit more. We always cite what The Athletic is doing with their playoff predictor stuff. If they lose this game, the Chiefs are down to a 38% likelihood. If they win, they're up to a 66% one. Just question for you. Do you believe the Chiefs, if you had to throw them all in the bag, all the AFC teams in the bag, are the best chance of graduating from the AFC into the Super Bowl?
If the Colts have the bye, I think that would be my answer. But if it's like the Patriots get the bye and stuff, and I really like the Patriots, I'm not sure if they have the offensive line and like the defense totally there yet. Where I think that like the Chiefs, it's going to be hard because I think right now, according to like the betting markets, the Chiefs would be favored against everybody except if they played the Rams, which they would only play them in the Super Bowl. So like you're going to be facing like the Chiefs are going to be coming into your building and they're going to be favored to win. And I understand that now. I think the hard part is getting themselves actually into the playoffs. But I think the Colts are the most underrated team right now. Like of all the contenders, everyone's kind of like writing them off. I don't know, man. Like this team looks pretty damn impressive to me.
Yeah, couple issues with the Chiefs, not issues, questions with the Chiefs, this version versus previous versions. What got Patrick Mahomes like up into top end quarterback status, and he's still there as quarterback 2 on the season, was all the scrambling that he was doing to open the year, like 55 yards and 66 yards in weeks 1 and weeks 2. Then in week 5, it was another 60, then 32, 28. It's only been 5 and 3 yards over the last 2 games. And we know like no one else is creating explosive runs for them on top of it. And again, if he's not throwing for these long touchdowns and they're having difficulties sustaining these drives on some periods, then that's made him the quarterback 22 and quarterback 14 over the last 2 weeks. But certainly the Denver Broncos defense is a notch above, even if we respect Big Lou, than this Indianapolis Colts one.
Yeah, just to like emphasis like on how big of a game this is. The Colts right now 3.1 points per drive. Chiefs second 2.7 yards per drive. So it's the 2 best offenses we can nitpick. All the Patrick Mahomes stuff. They're second in points per drive this year.
I've got some good notes on the Colts when we get there with Daniel Jones. Next is Jalen Hurts at the Dallas Cowboys. We talked about the whole frustration element of this entire thing, even with the conversation that continues to flow through all of Philadelphia local media. AJ Brown doesn't want to be quiet and he still wants to talk about it, which fair play. You're allowed to do it if you want to. I totally understand why there would be frustration because, as we said, if the locker room knows how good they can be, which they can just look back to last year, and if they play to that level with many of the same players, they would easily be the best team in the NFL this year. They still might be the best team in the NFL, but there are just a couple more questions with that. And the questions even get bigger without Lane Johnson here at right tackle.
Yeah, I mean, this is like the most overanalyzed 8-2 team. It's just like, I mean, they've lost like 4 games and 5 games since the last 2 years, including the playoffs.
I think it was equally analyzed back in 2023 though. And I think like that PTSD is what is kicking in.
I will say it was equally analyzed last season. I remember the wars everybody was having with the Eagles halfway through last season too. So
but I do think it's different because the Saquon stuff, like the Saquon stuff is not happening this year. Like they cannot pull that lever right now.
Right. The Lane Johnson stuff has me worried here, but not against the Cowboys. Like the Cowboys secondary is so bad that I feel good about this. So they're right now they are favored to win this game on the road against a Cowboys team that's pretty dang feisty right now. Their defense is unbelievable. And I'm hoping we get Cam Jurgens back from concussion protocol here. Otherwise that would be like multiple starters on the offensive line out right now. Jalen Hurts projected for 21.3 points in the pick 'em lobby right now. He still gets it done in fantasy, even with all the kind of the nonsense here. But yeah, I mean, they're 8-2. We can only panic so much.
Right. Just to compare it to 2023, they were 10-1 through 12 weeks, but then, and this is going to be impossible for one reason. They finished out loss, win, loss in the regular season. And that's impossible because that secondary is arguably the worst in the NFL. And they immediately tried to fix it that offseason, which they really did. We've seen it with draft picks. We saw it with free agent additions, all that stuff. So Vic Fangio's defense right now is allowing the offense to go through ups and downs and not growing pains, but just kind of frustrations versus what it was last year.
Yeah, there's some bad things about the offense right now. Like there's no doubting that. But you got Devontae Smith and AJ Brown against the Cowboys corners. I'll talk about this probably the next game.
Okay, Matthew Stafford is against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He is your quarterback 5, and he is on an absolute heater. Would he be your MVP vote right now?
I'm not sure. I would struggle to come up with many better names than him. And after this game, he might increase his odds because Bucs right now, Jameel Dean and Hassan Reddick, that's like 2+ starters for them. They haven't practiced so far. You're at home. You're projected for 28 points. He gets all like the red zone goal line passing touchdowns in his favor, and he's been playing out of his mind. Now, like no right tackle for the next at least 4 weeks. That's a little bit more stress there. No Tyler Higbee. I don't think that one matters all that much. I just don't think that the Buccaneers, their back 7 right now, is ready for what Sean McVay has.
I'm with you, especially for Todd Bowles. I'm fascinated to see because with young quarterbacks, he lights them up and blitzes the heck out of them. With the total opposite end of that, with arguably the most veteran quarterback other than Joe Flacco in the league and Aaron Rodgers. Is he just going to not blitz? Is he not going to send pressure looks? Because if he does, I mean, Matthew Stafford can just, refill that spot over and over and over again.
I don't know how you defend this offense. I'll leave it at that.
Speaking of, now that the San Francisco 49ers are healthy, I'm not sure how you really defend this 49ers offense. We saw Brock Purdy try to return earlier this season, and it did not look right. He was sailing passes. He wasn't moving as much. And while it wasn't perfect this past week, he threw 2, I would argue, turnover-worthy plays and have some moments. They now, once again, have CMC, have George Kittle, have Ricky Pearsall, and have Juwan Jennings, and certainly their quarterback 1 in Brock Purdy here.
Projected for 28 points. That's the 4th highest on the week. Feel very good about Brock Purdy. I think that he's probably somewhere in between fully healthy Brock Purdy and then that stint where he was obviously shouldn't have been playing Brock Purdy. I thought the ball was a little bit ducking a little bit last week, but it didn't matter. Like in the box score, absolutely lit him up. I mean, Shanahan, what he was doing with Kittle against Arizona's linebackers and safeties, it was criminal. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen here.
Correct.
They didn't even get the ball to Ricky Pearsall down the field. That's an explosive element that they probably wouldn't have been getting with Mac Jones, who would be turning down those throws for more Juwan Jennings level targets. The explosive ability, like the ability to put up 38 points in a game, is back with the 49ers right now.
I'm with you. Must start. And just look on Monday Night Football at the microscope that Kyle Shanahan's going to put the backup both linebackers for the Panthers.
Yeah.
I wonder if they play a lot of like dime stuff, to be honest, and treat Trevin Moehrig as a linebacker in this kind of dare this non-explosive 49ers rushing game to beat them on the ground and think that, okay, we can hold up with our big bodies up front rather than have, 2 linebackers out there trying to chase George Kittle and CMC around over the middle of the field.
No. Yeah. That's a good game plan. And still,
I'm with you. And still, there are no right answers. There are no right answers right now. Okay, Jared Goff is your quarterback 7. He's back in a warm and cozy environment inside of Ford Field, back in a dome, which, by the way, he's playing in for the rest of the season. No 2 gloves, no full sleeves, no heat gear underneath it. And he also gets this Giants defense, which has really been putrid for most of the season.
Yeah, I mean, 31st in EPA per play. It's plus 0.15. It's ridiculous what the Giants have put out there on defense. And now they don't have Paulson Adebo, their top corner. Kayvon Thibodeau hasn't practiced, their edge rusher. And then even their second defensive tackle hasn't practiced as well. So, I mean, the on-off splits are clear. Jared Goff is a low-end quarterback 1 when he's at home, projected for 1 million points. And then he's the low-end quarterback 2 in other circumstances.
We always talk about it during this time of year. The great teams really separate themselves when they're playing the worst teams across the league. And that really stands out when you're looking at the team projected totals. The Lions are at number 1 with 30.25. Next, we've already talked about the Ravens at 29. The Patriots we've already discussed at 28.5. The 49ers we've already discussed at 28.25. And the Rams we've already discussed at 28 as well. Caleb Williams, your quarterback 8. This is against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I thought he was exceptionally strong from quarter 2 through quarter 4 last week. And, the Steelers defense has been high variance. We're not exactly sure what to get here. I am in on the Caleb and Ben Johnson dynamic, and I'm hoping and expecting them to continue it the rest of the season.
Strong is just like an actual, like, very good word to use about just like his play style. I mean, he was just avoiding all the sacks. It's ridiculous. It was Nate Tice brought up that he has 28 unblocked pressures this year. He's been sacked 0 times against that. Like, the only way you're able to do that is if you have like a physical ability to shed him off, and he does. So I do think there's a big teardrop from like the top 7 guys where we have like the dual threat types and all like the super high team totals. And then you can kind of pick your kind of poison from the Caleb Williams, like the next 6 or 7 guys. And that's how it is in the pick'em lobby over on Underdog as well, where Caleb's at 17.2, where Jared Goff was at 18.8, Brock Purdy was at 19.4, Stafford's at 19.5. So the next couple guys we're nitpicking here. I trust Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson right now more than like the rest of the teams we're going to get to here, especially when you break ties in favor of Caleb Williams' rushing ability.
And I think it is noteworthy that if we look at some of their offensive linemen, Theo Benedette seems like the most injured with a quad injury. He only got into limited sessions this week, but he's questionable. The rest of them, and Drew Dahlman and Joe Tooney and Darnell Wright, finished out with full, and they don't have a injury designation next to their name.
And with the Bears defense, they're all injured. Like, they don't have a linebacker. They're calling up me, you, and producer Weaves to get out there in base. So I can see the Steelers actually being able to move the football here and it being a little bit more shootout-y than you would think, like Bears, Steelers, like it's 1970s football. Like, I think we're in a different era.
I know TJ Watt's season has not gotten the acclaim that many other edge rushers have so far this year. And Darnell Wright at right tackle has been fantastic. I do wonder, like, those moments when Caleb has someone grabbing both his shoulder pads and trying to swing him around like he's a hula hoop, if someone like TJ Watt could finish that play, or another one of these edge rushers for the Steelers who are quite talented do finish that play versus other ones that couldn't. But, you could have said that in other games, and Caleb has just avoided them at the same time.
Yeah, I kind of like Darnell Wright against JJ Watt, or TJ Watt. That's just a great matchup. Darnell Wright is hard to get around.
Okay, Sam Darnold, your quarterback 9 at the Tennessee Titans. The Seahawks are going to throw to lead and run to win.
Yeah.
The run to win part is always questionable for them, but there should be leading in this one because they are projected on the road for nearly 27 points and expected to win by 13.5. That is the spread right now.
Yeah, I'm a little bit conflicted here. I expect the Titans have not been able to stop anybody, but just interior offensive line, especially if Gray's able, their first rounder can't go here against 2 sickos in Tennessee. Like, that has me a little bit spooked, but at the same time, the Titans have nobody in the secondary right now, and then they now have 3 wide receivers plus a couple tight ends that can really go crazy here. And they're just versatile on offense too, where they can bring in the personnel stuff and then pass through that. So if you don't trust their linebacker depth and safety depth, then you can get exposed here. So I'm expecting Sam Darnold to right back here, bombs down the field, and they'll convert them. Hopefully Jeffrey Simmons doesn't completely just waste everything, which there's a chance that happens.
There's definitely a chance, but 2 long passes to JSN seems like a layup here. I know we talked about Cooper Kupp. I could also see, 1 downfield pass to Rashid Shaheed this week too.
Big time. Be a great spot for it.
Okay, Jacoby Brissett, the man, the myth, the legend, all the way up here as quarterback 10 off of his NFL record-setting performance of 47 completions. Higher or lower 46.5 completions against this Jaguars defense this week.
I mean, that's what the spreadsheets are telling me. Like, everybody against Jacksonville decides to pass the ball, and I don't think that the Cardinals are going to be able to run the ball. Just they ran out of running backs and offensive linemen, so it's all on Jacoby Brissett. If Trayvon Walker does not play, that's their edge 2. He has not practiced yet. I think I'll probably move him up next to Jared Goff here, but just waiting on final injury reports to kind of tinker here. But yeah, Jacoby Brissett, he didn't take a sack in that game, the record-breaking game too, I don't think.
Wow. That's much different
insane.
than the Seattle game that he got a couple weeks ago, where they still threw in the entire second half because, he had 2 fumble 6s earlier in that contest. That's always a possibility against this Jaguars team. We know they opened the season on fire with like 13 or 14 turnovers in the opening 5 games of the season, something crazy. Then they went through a stretch where they weren't turning the football over and they were a worse defense. Yeah. Imagine that. So I think Jacoby's going to have, because he just stands in there, man. And these guys have long arms and they can rush the passer, and the right tackle spot for the Cardinals is a major difference. So he's not going to waver. He's not going to retreat. He's not going to look for space. And while, yes, you can blame him and you probably should for the fumble sixes, it's because he's standing in there and trying to get the football away, and it's knocked out as he's throwing his arm forward or trying to.
Yeah, that was 57 pass attempts, 0 sacks last week. That's unbelievable. That's unbelievable.
Hair loss. Many men suffer it from ages, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. And if you think you are starting to thin and look in the mirror every single day, and it's going back and back and back with that receding hairline, now's the time to do something about it. And I know a big hang up, a big stumbling block is, man, it's just going to take way too much time. You shouldn't have to go out of your way to feel like yourself. So Hims brings expert care straight to you with 100% online access to personalized treatment plans that put your goals first. And there are no hidden fees. There are no surprise costs, just real personalized care on your schedule. So for simple online access to personalized and affordable care for hair loss, ED, weight loss, and more, visit hims.com/underdog. That's hims.com/underdog for your free online visit. hims.com/underdog. Individual results may vary based on topical and oral minoxidil and finasteride. Featured products include compounded drug products, which the FDA does not approve or verify for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. See website for full details, restrictions, and important safety information. Thank you, Hims, for sponsoring the show. Dak Prescott, quarterback 11. This is against the Philadelphia Eagles. They saw each other back in week 1. In that game, they picked apart the cornerback 2 with CeeDee Lamb against Adoree Jackson. But Dak only finished, I believe, as like the quarterback 29 that week. Ooh. Whoa. And that was because we also got our initiation to Javonte Williams being the lead back here with Jalen Carter being out.
Yeah, this is just great offense versus great defense. You know, like the team total is lower than it usually is because like how good the Eagles are defensively. It's only at 22.25 points. Dak Prescott doesn't use his legs anymore, so it's just all about the passing touchdowns, and we're expecting a little bit less this week than before. So just like really why the Eagles are dominating again. They trade for Jalen Phillips, who's been awesome. You get Nolan Smith back. The defensive tackles and your edge threes that no one's really heard of, those guys are actually quality players again. You go 3 back at linebackers. You draft one in the first round. You get Nakobe Dean back healthy. The Zach Bond is still on the team. And then you add in some depth at corner to try to figure out exactly your weakest spot. And then Quinyon Mitchell is now him, Stingley, and Surtain are, to me, like the 3 top corners in the NFL. It's like none of this happened by accident. Like this week's Eagles defense is infinitely better than what it was in week 1.
Okay, Daniel Jones sits here as your quarterback 12. This is at the Kansas City Chiefs. Look, there's a chart for everything, right? Y-axis,
Guilty.
X-axis. Sometimes I think the two things are correlated, and sometimes I don't think at all, or connected, or whatever nerd term you guys want to use. I will say, Football Insights, FBall_insights on Twitter, has a number of these, and I think many of them are actually quality. This one was fascinating to me. I'm sure producer Ruiz is throwing it on the screen right now. Kansas City's defense is league worst in defense versus play action, but second best on non-play action dropbacks. I'm sure Shane Steichen maybe has even seen this chart, or the nerds in his building have indicated, hey, run some play action and maybe even double it up versus what you typically do, which they also run a lot of it. So that's fascinating to me because it's a team that thrives off the play action looks, off of Jonathan Taylor to Tyler Warren or to Alec Pierce or to Josh Downs and Michael Pittman and all these guys. And right now, again, just statistically, the Chiefs seemingly are the worst against it.
That's very interesting to me. Linebacker play is a little bit slower in Kansas City, and then like all the pressure looks that they throw out there, you can like kind of catch them. So these teams are just used to each other at this point, with Shane Steichen studying, even go back to the Eagles games against the Chiefs. So it'll be a very interesting one. The Daniel Jones meltdown stuff, there's like some validity to it, but I also think it's been like really exposed like the last 2 weeks. I think that we can't overemphasize either one of the splits. I think he's still a decent quarterback in this scheme, and they have so many guys to get the football to. And the Chiefs, like their slot defense is just like not as good. and you have Downs and Warren. You can move Pittman and Pierce around the formation a little bit too. That I think they'll have enough answers to the test here. But you're going into Kansas City. It's like never fun. Like that's why the Colts team total right now is only at 23 points. They're 3.5 point dogs here. So like that's a big hook spot to be over 3 points there. So it would be an extremely impressive win for the Colts.
Massively. And they're going to throw early in this game too. It's not like for the first 2 series, we're just going to have Jonathan Taylor. So my eyes immediately are going to jump to those play action attempts and see if that stat holds up.
The last thing, Daniel Jones this year has not been used as a quarterback designed rusher aside from like the quarterback sneaks. You could do that with Daniel Jones. He's one of these quarterbacks where like a lot of playoff level quarterbacks, you do it less when the games don't matter. And then all of a sudden the high leverage games, you do it a lot. That's like one thing where it would be pretty sweet if all of a sudden Daniel Jones had 4 or 5 like quarterback design stuff as like a change up, and Shane Steichen being with Philadelphia. They know what they're doing in that department. We just have not seen that this year, but that would be something that would be a fun wrinkle for this game. And then as we get to the playoffs here,
Joe Flacco is your quarterback 13. I woke up Friday morning based on the buzz that Joe Burrow was practicing basically in full, expecting him to be the starting quarterback here for the Bengals. Then Ian Rappaport basically read between the lines of what Zach Taylor was saying and maybe some things that he's heard, and basically said, well, maybe that was just to get a week of practice here for Joe Burrow ahead of the Thanksgiving week slate. And he's expecting Joe Flacco to, again, be the starting quarterback here for the Bengals. And that's against the New England Patriots.
No Jamar Chase because he wants to spit on people as an adult for some reason. So yeah, I don't love the matchup for Flacco. He's been like a top 6 fantasy quarterback though since he's got the job. So I'm discounting from that. I'm not expecting the crazy shootout in this one because the Patriots defense is pretty good, and you don't have Jamar Chase who's like been the guy to stir the pot here. So T. Higgins jump fades and whatnot like that works for T. Higgins in the wide receiver rankings. I think that's like a less sustainable like offensive game plan for 4 quarters with this offensive line, which is it's still really bad.
Trevor Lawrence is your quarterback 14. This is at the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona's in an interesting spot right now. I think you can question what player has improved their game under this coaching staff other than like Trey McBride. Is that a fair question? Now, you can also say that the GM this past offseason, I think, did a really fine job in terms of finding talents. Walter Nolan, we know about his debut, albeit he got banged up in the next contest. Will Johnson, we know why he slipped to round 2, but he has popped up in really good spots at cornerback. But
also
as well.
Injured, and that's why he fell.
Also injured, yes.
Injured. Yeah.
So the talent has been there, yet when they get in the field, then they get banged up. So we'll see.
Yeah, and like last draft, they kind of had like a defensive tackle edge rusher kind of hybrid.
Darius Robinson, who we haven't like heard of ever.
He's still in the hybrid role, and they have not been able to solve that. So, they're mediocre. Jacksonville, it really just they need more explosiveness in the pass game, and Brian Thomas is the answer to that. As bad as that sounds, so I'm waiting for a final injury report there. Parker Washington, Brenton Strange, and Jacoby Myers can only get you so far as a pass game. So we'll see. They've also just been really run heavy. I'm still waiting on if ETN and Tootin are going to be out there ready to go or not. But the last month, they've been more run heavy than they were before that. I think that's because no Travis Hunter, no Brian Thomas over that stretch. I don't think that's a coincidence.
This is a huge game for their playoff odds. Again, over at The Athletic, they have a playoff simulator. If they lose, it's down to a 48% chance. If they win, it's up to 73%. So they're basically locked in if they win this one. All right. And they do play the Colts twice the rest of the way too, which is a pretty big.
There's always upsets, like Jacksonville losing to a bad Cardinals team on the road, like in a game that these two teams never see each other. Like that's like the recipe of like how things work in the NFL.
Okay. Baker Mayfield, quarterback 15 at the Los Angeles Rams. Baker has talked extensively about it this week that his, quick turnaround with the Rams basically saved his NFL career. It gave him his love back for the game of football. And again, to cite Jordan Rodriguez over at The Athletic and NFL Daily, she says that goes both ways. That with Sean McVay at the time, he'd given up play calling for the Rams, and that he not lost his love, but was burnt out with football. And then Baker comes in and his personality, and it rejuvenates him moving forward. But at the same time, as hot as Baker Mayfield started the season, Hayden, most recently, he ranks 31st in success rate when not pressured. So he's almost the rare quarterback that it kind of sustains itself on the pressured versus non-pressured numbers, just overall.
Yeah, he just missed more throws recently than he did previously. Like, that's just how it's going for Baker Mayfield. He's always put the ball in harm's way, and we've seen the worst of that recently. And then he just missed more shots that were more layups like the last couple seasons. The Rams stuff, like, they are so emotional. Like, I'm not even saying it's a good or a bad thing. It's like, and they make sure that everybody in the media knows about the emotions they've had. Like, how cool was Baker Mayfield must be the coolest guy ever, that we're saving Sean McVay's entire coaching career because he was in the building for 48 hours. I mean, what could you have possibly said in those 48 hours to make you want to dedicate your entire life to the sport again? Like, I don't know. It's crazy.
Well, not to do a cross sport thing, but apparently Sean McVay and Mikel Arteta, who is the manager over at Arsenal, have become like great pals over the last couple off seasons. And Arteta is like, the world is against us, super emotional, like clapping it up on the sideline and doing all this stuff. So maybe it's kind of like two peas in a. I like Sean McVay way more than I like Arteta.
No, I'm not even saying it's a bad thing. I just like it's just funny to me, like how whenever there is something like this, everyone has to know about it.
They have gone through like a bunch of changes, though. We know all about the OCs and the offensive coaches leaving, and even the defensive guys in Raheem Morris. But even that year, he fired a bunch of assistant coaches and positional guys and all that type of stuff. So it has certainly worked. I mean, again, been calling the Rams the best team in the NFL for a few weeks at this point.
He's the best coach in the league to me.
Right. Just emotional. Okay. Jordan Love versus the Minnesota Vikings. Here he is as your quarterback, 16. Big test. This Vikings defense is playing a whole lot better just because Andrew Finkinkle returned.
I mean, truly, like he is the guy. He brings the emotion to that Vikings defense. They got better defensive tackle play in Minnesota this year. We're starting to feel that. Like, that was what was promised. Like, the reason why they got rid of Darnold is like for these defensive tackles to step up. And I think we're finally getting that. So not an easy matchup for the Packers. I think like the real reason the Packers have like just kind of not struggled this year, but kind of been like wonky to watch. Their offensive line is just like not dominant. They got some injuries up front, and they just like not nailed their picks up front. So like whenever I see like Justice Mosqueda doing like center deep dives in week 11 to find the next center for the Packers, like things are just feeling a little bit mismatched. So not surprised at home. They're still only projected for 23 3/4 points, which still above average, but not like crazy for a home game.
Bryce Young is your quarterback, 17. This is Monday Night Football at the San Francisco 49ers. Panthers only projected for 21 1/4 points. So not the worst, but certainly not the best. I can tell you this, Hayden, I cannot wait for the rest of his career to be determined in the public eye based on a primetime game on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, it keeps going back and forth, right? There's like no level of consistency with the Panthers. It's just the way it is. I will say there is a level of consistency with the 49ers defense, and it's just be bad every single week because of all the injuries. So it should be a fine spot for Bryce Young. It just depends on how pass heavy versus run heavy the offense is. So that's just the state of Bryce Young in fantasy. And then when he's hot, he's hitting these intermediate throws. A lot of them are to the sideline, but he also rips the ball over the middle on occasion. And those are just like kind of hit and miss. Like, you throw the ball further, like when they all connect, it looks awesome. When they don't connect, now you've punted for 3 straight possessions. And like, that's just how the game goes. So that's just the state of the Panthers offense. We've talked about with T-Mac, him moving across formation is going to be increasing the success rate to me. Jalen Coker being out there versus what they were dealing with in September, that's an upgrade. And then I think the offensive line has just played so admirably given all their injuries. And
they're able to move Tyrod McMillan around because of the health now of Xavier Legette and the more consistency kind of that he's bringing to the team at his position. And then Jalen Coker definitely being healthy because, previously that was Hunter Renfrow, and you can only play Hunter Renfrow in one spot, and you can have Jalen Coker line up on the outside. And there was even a, pump and go touchdown that could have been a possibility to Tyrod McMillan that just as Bryce was throwing it, got hit from off the right tackle spot. So there was another opportunity for them to try to throw down the field, which is something that we had pleaded for on the show. I'll bring this up. Robert Saleh and Jeff Ulbrich just coached together last season. Bryce just shredded Jeff Ulbrich's defense. Now, Ulbrich's Falcons unit blitzes way more than Robert Saleh does. And the issue last week with the Falcons defense they kind of all felt disjointed. They felt out of position. And I understand that this 49ers defense is on like the backups of the backups in a bunch of spots. But when you go and watch the defense that they played last week, you can see that the individual talents aren't as good, but they're still kind of on a string. They're still, working in unison. And so working as a unit, I think, is something that is going to be difficult to kind of break them down. And you kind of going to have to win on individual levels with, the running game and then Teddy Millen on top of it. Yeah.
And they just, for back to fantasy, all of the quarterbacks above Bryce Young are at 17 fantasy points in the pick 'em lobby. Bryce Young's at 15.2. So there's a step down there. And then everybody else we're going to talk about today, it goes from like 10, 13 fantasy points. So I would say Bryce Young's kind of like last call to have a chance to win your super flex league. If you're starting the rest of these guys, it's not looking good for you.
Canales and Robert Saleh also started their careers together as coaching assistants back in 2010. So
Canales was a USC Trojan for a second.
He was. You're right. Okay, Aaron Rodgers is your quarterback 18. It seems like they're going to take it all the way up until game time on who's starting here. So would this basically be where Mason Rudolph starts as well?
I haven't thought about Mason Rudolph yet. I was too busy at the Sabrina Carpenter concert.
I was trying to think who the SC was and if it was Sabrina or who was it?
Yeah,
I didn't know who the SC was when you posted that fit.
Sabrina, obviously. Great concert. Highly recommend. I would go see one especially for our audience.
Were you in a box, Hayden?
Oh yeah. Underdog treats us right. Underdog treats us right. Come on now.
Wow.
For Rodgers, it's the perfect matchup for him and like Arthur Smith, 3 tight end bullshit, right? And then I'll check the Bears injury report and their top 3 linebackers are all out. Like, it's not an exaggeration. Like, all 3 linebackers are out. What does Arthur Smith love? Tight ends. If he puts 3 tight ends out there and now the Bears have to match with base, it's linebacker 4, 5, 6. And we don't know about the corners if Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon are going to even be back there. So it's like, I think Arthur Smith is like, hell yes. Like, let's have ourselves a game here. So it's Bears Steelers sounds like a really bad offensive game. I don't know. I think this one's kind of spicy.
All right. I like to hear it. Rodgers is like distancing himself now too of being like, I own the Chicago Bears. Remember those days during the Packers? He's like, well, I don't play for the Packers more, so those words don't mean anything. Like, they probably do. I'm sure the Packers.
I forgot.
I'm sure the Bears fans want to end your season this week.
Yeah,
let's put it that way. Okay, Tyler Shough. What a handsome guy. Quarterback 19 for you. This is against the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, Hayden, if Bryce Young threw for 450 against the Falcons, what is Tyler Shough going to do?
500, man. 500. The arm talent's real. Yeah, I'm trying to gather more information with Tyler Shough. I will leave the light on for him. Like, what he did before the bye, that was very, very good quarterback stuff. Like, those are big boy sideline throws and then like breaking some sacks, like that sacks avoided metric. Shough was like kind of ripping it and throwing the ball down the field. Like, now, like, we have to like bring this back to earth. We're talking about inexperienced quarterback with backups on the interior. Fuaga is still limited in practice with an ankle injury. That's a right tackle. So it's an uphill battle for Tyler Shough to have any success. Yet they're projected for 21 points at home against the Falcons team that's just losing life right now. So I'm excited to watch him.
Yeah, if Natron Brooks plays again, he will be picked on. Let's put it that way. That was a rough element. Oh, and right before we got going, it's something BB. Who's the nickel corner for the Falcons? Anyways, he just had a bad Achilles injury in practice, and he's out.
Oh no.
So something to monitor there. Jameis Winston stands tall as your quarterback 12. This was a shocker. I mean, Jackson Dart practiced all week, it felt like, and then he just didn't clear concussion protocol. Hopefully everything is fine there. They were projected for 19 3/4 points. That has now dropped to 19 points. What are you expecting here for Jameis after last week's performance against the Green Bay Packers?
I mean, the Lions play a lot of man coverage, and I mean, who's the wide receivers that are supposed to beat the man coverage this week? I don't know, man. Like, it'll be the same Jameis stuff where all those interceptions that you were live tweeting about, which I really liked, it was like another one. I mean, these could be caught this week. You know, it just could be one of those weeks. So Jameis could always get spicy and throw the ball down the field, and they connect him. I would just ask who's catching these.
Isaiah Hodgins was a big time player last week for the Jets. Like, he would throw an interception that was dropped, and the next play, it was an in-breaker to Isaiah Hodgins on 3rd and 8 for a first down conversion. So I just say be careful what you ask for here with Jameis in this offensive environment.
Yep.
Okay. Geno Smith, quarterback 21. This is against the Cleveland Browns defense. Is this another be careful what you ask for? And dare I point that question in the direction of the sports books, who are projecting the Raiders as 3.5-point favorites and nearly 20 points scored here.
Yeah, I mean,
do they start with a 10-point lead? Is that what they're giving them this week? It's like a Grant Horvat video where he's able to start 5 under.
Yeah, I can see that being the case here, because I just don't see how Glaze is gonna block Myles Garrett.
Or 61 against Mason Graham. I refuse to know 61's name. I just know him as like the worst starting guard in the NFL, basically.
Yeah. I mean, the Jackson Powers Johnson injury, I guess, kind of matters, but like they were benching him. Like, and the guys that they drafted, we talked about this on Satzer's film or whatever, like they were supposed to play, and those guys aren't playing now. Like, I don't know, man. Like, and then for Brock Bowers, we'll get to him in a second. Like, Carson Schwarzenegger is like one of these like unsung heroes, like defensive rookie of the year candidate, and he's just awesome. Like, his like ability to kind of sit in zone coverage and run and read things out is like super impressive. So I think even for Brock Bowers, they have like some answers there. And like, let's just be honest about the Brock Bowers stuff. Like, a lot of that stuff last week, his receptions was just like little hitch routes and whatever, like not very helpful to the offense.
We're like really in sad boy territory here. Next up is Kirk Cousins.
Oh yeah.
This is your quarterback 22 against the New Orleans Saints. The ball literally dies when he tries to throw it over 7 yards right now.
And so do his receivers working over the middle. Like, it's puts him in harm's way. Now it's like, it's a Saints defense, which has been like structurally sound for the most part. But they're just all right. So yeah, it's all bad from here. I wish I had more notes, but
like, it's real bad from here, but we got to talk about it.
Yeah.
Speaking of sad boys, JG McCarthy on the sideline. I'll stop that comment right there. This against the Green Bay Packers defense. Look, we talked about it after Micah Parsons has ended games. The other guys have not stepped up. Maybe this is a week that Rashawn Gary does step up. At the same time, JJ McCarthy, first quarter last week, opening script and series, made awesome throws. And he has done that multiple times. But just as the game goes along, he's forcing it, not putting touch on passes, airmailing it to the sideline against the Bears secondary, and then their backups are catching it and making fun of him. What are you expecting here for JJ?
Yeah, I just get nervous because Kevin O'Connell is just kind of a sicko play caller, and that I love it, but every concept is so far down the field, and if you don't have the quarterback that's like playing on time to hit these downfield routes and you're a little late, now you're like in that pocket for like 3.5 seconds, and you just can't live that way against the Packers with Micah Parsons out there. So it's just one of these offenses where when it gets bad, it gets really bad because Kevin O'Connell is like, you're hitting the freaking post. Like, guess what? If you're not hitting the post, then it's a sack and we've punted the ball away. And if you're late on the post, now it's an interception, where like a lot of the other schemes around the NFL, it's a little bit like less variant. And that's what we saw with Sam Darnold last year, where he was running super hot and then got super ugly. And we're starting to see that once again in Minnesota. I think it's still a good scheme, but we can call out some of the weaknesses of the scheme and the way the quarterback is playing. That's why I think he's so frustrated on the sideline, throwing his hands up in the air and like yelling. And then we get to the press conference, it's like coddling. So it's like,
did you see the
situations? Yeah.
The quotes this week where Kevin O'Connell was like, I'm still waiting for the cement to dry when talking about his footwork and his mechanics. And then JJ McCarthy saying, I'm basically having to learn how to play quarterback all over again, which didn't make that much sense to me, because I'm sure Michigan didn't teach him to like not play quarterback in a pro style way, when that was the big positive with him coming out of a quote unquote pro style system. And then there was the other caveat of Chris Carter, making comments about JJ McCarthy's play, and then JJ McCarthy's quarterback personal coach coming out and using, did you see this? Vikings letterhead, and then saying, hey, Chris, you effing suck, or whatever the term was. And then having to also tweet, sorry, they made me remove that, and I still apologize to Chris Carter. I mean, just what a week in Minnesota land.
it feels like a lot of people are distancing themselves from the situation. You know, like when I thought like the cement drying was a little bit of like, hey, we're teaching him, and like it's got to dry or it's done. So we'll see. It's Packers then who? Is it Seahawks? Don't tell me it's the Seahawks, right? Is it the Seahawks next after this one?
I think so. Vikings? I mean, I think these 2 weeks are really difficult. Yeah.
We'll see.
I mean,
we might see Brosmer.
My brain immediately jumps back to when Diana Rossini continuing to bring up that Aaron Rodgers wants to go play with Kevin O'Connell, and they were kind of flirting with each other. Rodgers and O'Connell, I should say. And that was because, I mean, that was basically forcing Aaron not to sign his contract as quickly as he could have with the Steelers. And then, you know, now she's back in front of a microphone because I actually think Scoop City has a lot of really good points each week and saying, hey, yeah, it's not a sure thing that JJ McCarthy is a starting quarterback for the Vikings next season.
I think it's the most cash spent on the rosters of the Vikings this year. You can't have these results of your ownership and be like, yeah, we spent all this money and we can't go 4-12.
I know it's been 5-6 games, whatever, and we only see what happens on the field for 60 minutes, and they see what happens the other 6 days behind the scenes too. So
yeah, in the 6 weeks of whatever we're calling that.
Right. All right. Tyrod Taylor is up next. I actually don't think at this time Aaron Glenn has named him the starter after
enough. And by the way, enough of everything about that whole situation. Enough.
After Diana Rossini did name him the starter, I was hoping that Aaron Glenn got in the mic and be like, I don't know, ask Diana what it
would have been so good.
Who the starting quarterback was.
Oh my gosh. It's so funny when like everything gets leaked out and the coach has no ability to prevent it and is yet so tilted about it. It's like, it makes for some of the best theater.
And imagine that. It only seems to be for the worst teams in the NFL for
things weird.
Like that to happen.
Yeah, it is weird. Yeah, here's the task. You go into Baltimore against a defense that's completely figured it out without, you know, Garrett Wilson to, you know, have at least a prayer. Well, I mean, what's Tyrod Taylor supposed to do against Kyle Hamilton? Just like spin moving the A gap.
All right, Cam Ward. We did a deep dive on in Stats versus Film. I'm glad we did that before he faces the Seattle Seahawks defense.
We got a lot of praise for that because like apparently like no one's done a deep dive on Cam Ward like the entire season. So that was kind of fun to say. Yeah, I think like I didn't want to make it about the environment because the environment's so bad. And then Cam Ward has some things to work on. And then hopefully he can catch some big passes down the field because like that's the best stuff that he has right now is the big corner routes and whatnot. Easier said than done throwing that to Chimere DK against Reek Woolen and Devin Witherspoon and Nicky Manwari with, you know, it's really bad. No Alec Ayumanor, no Calvin Ridley. It's Chimere DK. And I mean, you can make up a name for who's going to be like outside wide receivers for this week.
Last, it is Shedeur Sanders as your quarterback 28. Vegas kind of has it the same way. Now, if you look at the lowest points projected this week, the Titans, and this keeps getting maybe lower. It's at 13.75 right now. We just talked about them. The Jets are at 15.5. And then right after them, it is the Cleveland Browns. Now, the caveat there being the Titans are facing the Seahawks. The Jets are facing the Ravens. This Browns defense is facing the Las Vegas Raiders, a Raiders defense that has been torched and just aren't playing well. And if it's not Max Crosby or someone up front getting disruption and pressure, then they're just no good and very bad.
Yeah, I mean, the Browns offensive line like needs to be a bigger storyline than what it's been. You know, like it's a big distraction because of how bad the quarterback play is. The Browns offensive line needs like 5 new starters over the next couple of years, like 5. So you have to hit on the quarterback, which is going to cost either like Kyler Murray or you're trading for somebody or you're spending the first round pick up on one. And then after you get that right, you have to spend the next off seasons getting 5 new offensive linemen long term. So when we were talking about the Shedeur Sanders pocket, it's even worse when both tackles are immediately getting blitzed and just getting ran right by or ran through. And if he's drifting a little bit and all of a sudden the left tackle is like barely lost, now that's a sack, where with a more veteran quarterback, you'd at least have a chance. So it's asking too much for Shedeur. He's way behind the 8 ball. It's a function of what the Buffalo scheme was in Colorado. It's just like very vanilla and a lot of throw the ball up to Travis Hunter and like some mesh concepts and some big wide cross routes and stuff, and he can throw it. He has the arm talent to throw the football, but
Right.
reading things out and like navigating the pocket and stuff, he's never had to do it.
He will have some good throws. I mean, I remember back to his debut in the preseason, and I think it was against the Panthers, that he was like evading pressure and elongating these plays. We've come to find out, like, obviously the Panthers cannot rush the passer. They can create pressure, but they can't rush the passer and finish on sacks. I think Max Crosby can finish on sacks.
Yeah. Pick'em lobby, the passing yard number keeps getting lower and lower, and then the team total keeps getting lower and lower and lower. So this is obviously when there's good people on both sides, and everyone, it's Shedeur's the best or Shedeur's the worst. I think he's closer to the worst, being honest here. I'm going to be playing lowers. I've already been playing lowers. I think this is going to be a disaster. But if he's awesome, that would make our jobs a lot more entertaining.
It's just a bad combo. A bad offensive line and someone that retreats in those situations. And correct me if I'm wrong, you mentioned that after the game, Stefanski already said that when Dylan Gabriel's healthy, Dylan Gabriel's going to be the starting quarterback.
Right. And like, that's why, like, I don't think it's an exaggeration for Shedeur Sanders is, like playing for a job long-term for the NFL, because we both agree
there's only going
that
to be one backup quarterback next year.
Correct. And they're going to draft another one or bring in Kyler Murray, you name it. And then who knows if he's going to win the quarterback 3 job. And if he's not with the Browns, we just watch the rest of the NFL skip over him for 5 rounds. So like, if he looks terrible here, I think it's like potentially bad news for him, or he shows like some of the talent that he does have and he can buy some time in the NFL. But it's like, it's the NFL. Like, you're not promised a job. You're a 5th rounder. How many 5th rounders are out of the league in a year or 2? Like, most of them. Right. So like, that's what I think the stakes are for Shedeur right here.
My guy, Zach Dysert, back in the day. Shout out to all of you that remember Zach Dysert from?
I don't know. Zach Dysert.
Just guess. Guess somewhere.
Washington.
Miami of Ohio. Zach Dysert.
I should have known that.
Throwing to Tyrod Taylor, my other guy. All right.
Wow.
That does it. Here we go. Shout out to Weaves and Mosho. Shout out to Hayden. By the way, go and play the dog app. Hayden just mentioned it with Shedeur Sanders.
We got
you can take the higher or lower. Huh?
Tight ends.
Oh.
I hate to say it.
There we go. Let's go over to tight ends. They're already on the board here, and let's say most of the top 6 look quite good. I even just want to move the last name down a row, but we'll keep it honest here. Trey McBride, George Kittle, Brock Bowers, Travis Kelce, and Tyler Warren. Let's go for that 5-some first. Talk me through it.
Well, Trey McBride, according to the Pick'em lobby, is projected for 80 yards. That's wide receiver 4 in the week. So like that's where he is. He's the elite tight end, and then we get to everybody else. George Kittle and Brock Bowers, and I'll even throw Travis Kelce, have had elite tight end moments. Kelce's been playing, I think, very good football, and this is a high-scoring game. And I think if you're going to target the Indianapolis defense, their linebacker group is a lot worse than the cornerback group, and then Kelce's been good after the catch. I think Kelce's in line for a good spot here. And then same thing with Tyler Warren. Like the Chiefs linebackers slot is worse than their outside corners, and maybe you get Tyler Warren kind of exposed there. So I think the top 5 look good this week, just in general. And then we get to Kyle Pitts, who it's just like, well, this is where he finishes. Like, without Drake London or Darnell Mooney, like Kyle Pitts has kind of been the tight end 6, 7, 8. Like, we're really trying to make it aggressive now with Kirk Cousins there, but Drake London's 30% target share.
The thing with Kyle Pitts, it's not like he hasn't been playing. He has been playing like 90% of snaps. He's out there as a run blocker now too. That's going to be even more important for him, for a team that's going to rely more and more on Bijan. And I'm nervous about that because he might get blown up at the point of attack. But yeah, I mean, his stat line would have looked different a couple weeks ago when he caught that middle of the field pass and he just dropped it.
Yes.
He's just,
yep.
I'll be very intrigued what happens with Kyle Pitts when he goes to free agency. I don't think he's going to get paid. I would not be surprised if he has to do like a 1-year prove it deal somewhere else.
Ooh, yeah. He's only 25 years old. I mean, it feels like we've been talking about him for 14 years. Yeah, 25.
Have you ever looked at the players immediately drafted after Kyle Pitts?
Yeah, it's like the best players in the NFL.
Literally every player drafted after him might be Hall of Famers or
Chase,
All Pros
Sewell,
or
Waddle,
something.
right?
Yeah, so Kyle Pitts was the number 4 overall selection. 5, Jamar Chase. 6, Jalen Waddle. 7, Penei Sewell. 8, J.C. Horn. 9, Patrick Surtain. 10, Devontae Smith. 12, Micah Parsons. 13, Rashawn Slater.
Oh my God. Oh my God. That's just tragic.
But don't worry, at least the Falcons then double dipped at quarterback. And you know they got it right then. And then they really wanted to fix their edge rushing department. And so they spent 2 first-round picks by trading their future possible top 5 pick for an edge rusher. There was a sweet gif that someone tweeted of this is the Falcons, and it was a guy making a cement wall, and he has like the little scoop, and he takes it and fills this hole, and then he does it somewhere else to fill that hole, and then doesn't fill that hole. I mean,
oh man, it's tough out there.
I'm really into Tyler Warren. We talked about the play action stuff, and I think him releasing after, you know, blocking for a moment and getting out in front of these linebackers who are trying to expand off of their run fit looks first could be really, really deadly against this Chiefs defense.
I'll drop down a tier and talk about Hunter Henry real quick. He has not been a focal point of the offense because Diggs has broken out, Booty's broken out, Mac Hollins and Kyle Williams had moments, but the Bengals are just, it's the worst tight end defense I think ever. You know, like it's 18.6 half PPR points per game to tight ends. Like that's ridiculous. Like that's better than like Jamar Chase's numbers. It's like you're facing JSN at tight end. So they're projected for a bunch of points. So if there's going to be a Hunter Henry revival game, this would be the one.
And we just saw Juwan Johnson prior to the bye have a massive week with Tyler Shough right after this team had traded Rashid Shaheed. Brandon Cooks is gone. Devon Vele is their other second wide receiver now too. So while Juwan started the season red hot, then went through this lull, especially with Taysom Hill coming back, I do feel that Kellen Moore's just going to have to use him as, you know, a second or third wide receiver on this team, basically.
Yeah, there's a couple like coverage busts to like kind of explain why Juwan Johnson, but he he was still making plays and he's out there full time, and there's just like few guys to get the ball to at this point. So I feel better about Juwan Johnson. I did go back and look at, because they were on the same Oregon team, but they did not play snaps together. So like the shower narrative thing, they might have showered together, but they weren't like throwing. There's not a connection on the field going back to the Oregon days.
And finally, Colston Loveland in the third tier. It's Jake Ferguson, K. Dotton, and Colston Loveland. I will be tuned in to see what the Chicago Bears do with their personnel groupings. When you watched it last week against Brian Flores and the Vikings defense, they ran a bunch of 3 tight end sets, sometimes no running backs out there, and it was 3 personnel. Sometimes it was 13 personnel, and it was a lot of 2 tight end looks. That was to combat, again, the pressure situations and the pressure looks that the Vikings give off. Now it's not one of those defenses. So I'll be intrigued if maybe they're not base offense, but close to it is this 12 personnel stuff. And then they only run 2 wide receivers out there.
I think he looks extremely good. He just doesn't get the ball enough.
I agree.
So I think for next year, they'll have a big Cole Kmet decision to do financially. And then we'll talk about Colston Loveland a bunch in the offseason. Last 2 for me real quick. Mason Taylor did have him up a lot just because, I mean, they make Tyrod Taylor the starter because they're trying to evaluate young players. Like start naming the young players they're trying to evaluate. Like Mason Taylor's the number 1. It's like Mechie and Adonai Mitchell who just got into town. So I think they're going to give the ball to Mason Taylor a bunch. And then also want to do one final reset for Jake Ferguson over the last month with Pickens and CeeDee Lamb out or back in the lineup. Tight end 23 on tight end 17 usage. He's their check down guy. I did a quick stat on most receptions with a negative EPA over the last 2 years. Jake Ferguson is at the top of that list. So he's like the check down, like last minute guy to get the ball to, not like overly efficient. And there's no need to have those type of targets when you have 2 stud wide receivers. So full adjustment for Jake Ferguson. He's firmly a tight end 2 at this point.
That's going to do it. My favorite tight end pick this week, Tyler Warren, higher than 48.5 receiving yards. You all can take that in the pick'em lobby if you want to, or, you know, if you're in a prediction market state, there's over 20 of you, including Florida, Texas, California, Georgia, everywhere. 20 plus states, 40 plus states overall with Underdog. That wasn't the case 3 months ago or 6 months ago or 2 years ago. So if you've been watching us for that long, and you can now play on the Dog app, use promo code The Show, click the link in the description. If you play $5, I'll give you $75 in bonus cash in your direction. Shout out to Weaves, Moshe, and Hayden, and Sabrina Carpenter up the Villa. We'll talk to you,
especially her.